Psychic Terrain, arguably one of the most powerful Z moves outside of the Gigavolt Havoc in the electric terrain. This Tapu Lele, whatever it's targeting down, is going to take a ton of damage. But this Zapdos, thanks to the help of that Psychic Seed, might be able to hold on.
It does not.
No, that Rock Slide did too much damage.
That is just so much damage
Yes.
also from the Tapu Lele in that Psychic Terrain. Just shattered that Zapdos Psychic before it could even move even.
Yeah, so unfortunately for Raul, I liked how he locked himself into that Shadow Ball with the Choice Scarf. I think that would have been really great if he could have otherwise, knocked out that Landorus this turn. But, here we are. It's turn 2 now. His own Landorus is great because it'll intimidate the opposing Landorus, make those Rock Slides, a little bit easier to take. But he really needs to figure out how to stop the Tapu Lele on the opposing side of the field. Maybe a Rock Slide of his own plus a Shadow Ball should be enough to knock it out, and then he can go for the Landorus again next turn now that it's been intimidated. Melvin might even want to switch it out to preserve his Intimidate, but really, and this is, looking at the mentality, I think, of just having this win already under the belt. He might feel comfortable just, keep attacking, keep trying to whittle down health because he doesn't have much to risk right now.
Tapu Lele on Raul's side using Shadow Ball now connecting onto Melvin's Tapu Lele. Super effective damage as Melvin's Landorus locked into Rock Slide here, continuing to just throw rocks around. And, the Psychic does not get the KO on the Landorus, but that is a huge flinch right there from Melvin to prevent Raul's Landorus from being able to move.
Yeah, even though Raul's Landorus is able to hold on, that flinch unfortunately makes it almost irrelevant because we know that the opposing Landorus is going to move first and that Tapu Lele will attack first as well. So he has a tall order. He needs to start dealing some damage right now.
Yeah, and it's going to most likely come down to the Tapu Lele on Raul's side and also that last Pokemon that Raul has in the back. So, that's a big flinch right there. Landorus Therian on Raul's side not being able to move, possibly not being able to go for a Rock Slide to be able to even get the KO on the Tapu Lele on Melvin's side, or put that Landorus Therian in range to be KO'd by that Shadow Ball thanks to that special defense drop from earlier. Tapu Lele over on Melvin's side switches out, Snorlax switches right in, and it looks like Raul's last Pokemon in the back is going to be the Snorlax. So not a bad Pokemon to have anchoring the back as the Shadow Ball lands into that Snorlax slot. Doesn't do anything because it is immune, and Landorus Therian on Melvin's side content to just go for more Rock Slides.
Yeah, so interesting turn that both these trainers sent in their Snorlaxes, but again, Melvin still has all 4 of his Pokemon available to him. I think he's probably in a more comfortable position overall if he has something like the Belly Drum. This would be a great turn to use it. On terms of Raul has to go for Belly Drum here. I don't think he has a choice because he just needs that momentum back.
Shadow Ball from the Tapu Lele on Raul's side gets another special defense drop. Not going to matter though because any other attack will just KO Landorus Therian at this point. Rock Slide again. Tapu Lele on Raul's side hangs on. Snorlax flinches again, cannot move, and Melvin Snorlax just going to use Return here, going to go ahead and activate that Pinch Berry from that Snorlax thanks to that Gluttony ability and heal right back up. So 2 big flinches right there against Raul, so unfortunate for him right there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what if that flinch was stopping the Belly Drum? I mean, that was definitely huge. So he has one more chance, kind of. He's going to want to try and get that berry back if he can, but poor Raul, I think this is just not his morning. It's a very tall order right now for him. And I think Melvin, again, he's in a very comfortable spot. He just needs to keep dealing damage.
Yep, and this is going to be a smart switch. Preserve that Tapu Lele to allow it to come in later. Maybe go for some Psychics instead of some Shadow Balls, and also utilize Intimidate just one more time against the Snorlax on Melvin's side and that Landorus Therian, as Landorus on Melvin's side finally content to switch out. Charizard is going to switch in here, so that is... I'm not sure which variant that is. That could be the X variant or the Y variant, as Snorlax on Raul's side using Belly Drum, going to maximize that attack stat here as Snorlax on Melvin's side. Going to go for a return, going to try to chip away at this Snorlax. Just barely hangs on, but this Charizard now is in range to just get a double KO with a Heat Wave. If it is carrying that, if it is that variant.
If it is that variant, I mean, but really any attack will be able to knock out at least that Snorlax. I'm curious, it's going to come down to whether or not Raul's Landorus is faster. I mean, we already know that the Tapu Lele is holding the Choice Scarf, so it might not. But we will see as this turn's going to play out.
Yeah, Charizard protects itself, not going to want to take a Rock Slide from Raul's Landorus here, as it does land on Melvin's Snorlax, and now Raul's Snorlax is actually faster, I believe.
Recycle would be great.
No, just goes straight for Rich Return, though, and just tries to get to the KO on Snorlax, and it does.
You know, that KO was definitely a given now that its attack's been maximized out, but it has such little health. I mean, once your Snorlax is at max attack, you want to try and keep it on the field. Maybe he feels really confident that this Landorus is all he really needs right now as, you know, the partner for the Snorlax to keep it safe. But, you know, you have to remember, we know this Landorus has a Choice Scarf as well. We've seen it be very fast in the past. So it's probably going to move first. It's probably going to go for something, you know, just to deal that consistent, you know, little bit of damage to that Snorlax. Why risk Rock Slide missing at this point? So Raul, if he doesn't have Protect, if he can't somehow reposition himself right now, that might be it.
Yeah, and Charizard Y gonna take the field here. So it is the Charizard Y variant.
This is one of the two.
This is one of the two, yeah. You know, if it has Flamethrower, it can go for a Flamethrower just to ensure KOs, as Charizard gonna activate the Drought ability and bring out the Harsh Sunlight, as it looks like the Snorlax is actually gonna protect itself here, and Melvin looks like he might be a bit worried. Landorus using Rock Slide, it does not land in that Snorlax, but does it connect with the Landorus? It does!
Will it knock out, though? That's gonna be the big question.
Definitely should,
yes.
definitely should from that point. It hasn't been intimidated just yet, and now Tapu Lele is going to be able to come right back out on the field as Charizard uses Tailwind right there.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So a big Tailwind right there to kind of really just seal the deal on this game.
Yeah, so thanks to that Tailwind, that Landorus with a Choice Scarf should be faster than this Tapu Lele with a Choice Scarf. I didn't even remember how low of health it has as well, so another Rock Slide should be enough, provided that it connects. And maybe with the you know, Flamethrower as well to ensure the knockout on the Snorlax, regardless of the Rock Slide miss, should be enough to lock him into top 4. So just a very well played. I think Raul was trying to make some big plays, trying to make some big risks to make up for that, you know, round 1 or game 1 loss, but unfortunately just not able to get the momentum in time that he needed.
Landorus switches out as Tapu Lele on Melvin's side actually takes the field here, and Charizard should be able to go for a Heat Wave here. It connects with both Pokemon, and Raul Ramirez loses this game. Melvin K actually takes the set 2-0 due to the team sheet error that Raul had, penalizing him 1 game automatically.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that Pokemon loss probably affected him a bit as well in this matchup. You know, Metagross is a great Pokemon to counter Tapu Lele. It seemed like the Tapu Lele on Melvin's side of the field did a ton of work for him with that Psyche MZ, Shattered Psyche. I mean, we saw it knock out that Zapdos pretty easily after the Rock Slide as well. So it's really unfortunate. Unfortunately, you know, that's just what happens when you have to fill out team sheets, and it's why, you know, I always tell players, you know, fill it out the night before. Even if you end up changing your Pokemon, go back, check it again the morning of, and then check it again one time. Maybe even have a trusted friend or someone who's not even competing. Like, just look it over.
I always have somebody double check my team sheets just to make sure. You know, it's a very harsh penalty to have. You know, game loss and removal of that Pokemon to the point where, you know, we saw exactly how much that impacted Raul's play. You know, Raul, is a strong player without a doubt. You know, he made it to the top 8 here at the International Championships. You know, a strong representation of Ecuador, you know, Ecuadorian VGC, but it's just unfortunate that the team sheet error occurred and, you know, he automatically was incurred with that game loss.
Yeah, but hey, you know, congratulations to him. You know, top 8 is still a great finish. You know, he's still going to be taking home some of those cash prizes, some of those championship points. You know, I think that it'll, you know, he'll be a little bit.
He'll be okay.
Yeah, he'll be okay. He'll be more careful next time.
We'll see him. We'll see him around for sure.
Definitely.
In the rest of the international circuit. But you know, Melvin K actually played that very well. You know, I mean, that tailwind at the end of the game to just kind of make sure that, you know, that Scarf Tapu Lele coming right back in isn't going to be a big threat at all. So smart play right there from Melvin. You know, this is a free turn of tailwind. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, I actually really love that play. I mean, I think you could kind of tell based off the way I was commentating, I was very tempted as the person not in the chair to just say, oh yeah, you know, I don't need that. I can just start dealing damage. Just one hit. I need one hit. But the reason why I'm here and Melvin's going into top 4 is probably because he has that, you know, knowledge, and he knows how to make sure that he can guarantee that he will win, even if, you know, to minimize the risk, if you will.
I mean, same with me. I would have just been like, I just need one hit. I got a lot of chances. I'll
Yeah,
take that.
yeah.
But it's always better to secure your spot with
Definitely.
as many possible chances. You don't want to ever let anything go down to
Yes,
risk. You know, it's all
'cause-
about risk management.
Yes, exactly. Because, we've all seen it before, and I'm sure you can look back at past tournaments as well if you're just joining the stream for the first time. If it can happen, it probably will happen. So the best thing you can do for yourself as a Pokemon player, and really in any game that involves strategy, is just both play to, maximize your potential and minimize your risks.
We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, but when we come back, an interview with the winner of the previous round, or not round, but the previous match, Melvin Ke of Singapore. Championship. My name is Dewey Ha, and I'm currently joined by the winner of the previous round, Melvin Ke. So
The EH is silent.
the K.
K. So the EH is silent. So the EH is silent. So K.
So K.
Yeah, Melvin K.
The winner of the previous round, of the previous match, Melvin Ke. First off, congratulations, Melvin. How are you feeling right now?
Feeling good. Depends on my top 4 matchup, I guess. I have to watch the game and then have real game planning and have lunch. After that, I'll see if I'm good. Right now, I don't know.
Going into this matchup, how are you feeling going into this top eight? You got to relax yesterday. Do you feel like that helped you kind of rest and get ready for today?
Not at all. I didn't get to sleep. I couldn't sleep at all. Too many thoughts in my mind. So yeah,
So pretty much no.
pretty much no.
Okay. Well, hopefully, that's not going to impact your play. I don't think so. I think that you're going to be a strong player. Tell us a little bit about how you got here as a player, how your season's going right now.
I just hit my personal goal. It's 1,000 CP. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I'm really happy about it. I've been to every internationals, and this is the first one I've actually cut. And with this breakthrough, I'm happy enough. And even further in, if I you can make it to the finals, that'll be a dream for me.
So obviously, I'm guessing that you've already seen you're going to be playing the winner of Alberto versus Jean-Paul, right? I am assuming you've already seen the stream. You already know what they're running. Who would you actually rather face off right now or in the next round?
I watched the last game of the stream yesterday, right? Alberto versus John, and I think John will win. So I don't know if Alberto has an alternate game plan, but I've not done anything yet. Like I have not done any homework yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, I mean, I guess you don't really care. You're just gonna take it one match at a time, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and let you relax. Gonna let you rest up for a little bit for your top 8 match, or sorry, for your top 4 match. Thank you for the interview. Hopefully, you have good luck next game.
I hope so too.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back, but when we come back, more action here from the 2018 Pokemon Latin American International Championships. Welcome back, everybody, to the 2018 Pokemon Video Game Latin American International Championships. My name is Dweeha, still joined by my best friend in the whole wide world, Gabby Snyder. That's you. That's you. That's
and
you.
you're my best friend in the whole wide world, too.
That's me.
That's you.
That's me, Dwee. We are halfway through the top 8 so far. There are still 2 more exciting matches. We've already seen Eric Rios defeat Nico David Conieta of Italy. Moving on to the top 4, he is currently waiting the winner of Alex Gomez and Carson Confort.
Yes.
Over on the other side of the bracket, we actually just saw Melvin K defeat Raul Ramirez of Ecuador. It's unfortunate for Raul that he incurred that 1-game loss and the removal of the Metagross from competitive play. So that is unfortunate for Raul, but again, still a strong showing. But again, congratulations to Melvin K. He is actually going to be awaiting the winner between Alberto Lara and Jean-Paul Lopez Buiza. I talked to Melvin, as you all saw on that interview with Melvin, about who he would rather face off. And, he's just taking it one match at a time. He's not going to... I'm assuming that he must have, game plans. He already saw the match yesterday. He told me that he watched the stream. And he, either player is fine with him. He's just going to take it one match at a time, which is, I think, a great mindset to have.
I agree. I mean, it's really easy, I think, to get caught up in just this idea of, oh my gosh, I have a shot at the championship. I mean, everybody does when they come and enter one of these tournaments, but, when you're in the top cut, you can feel it. You can see that trophy in your future. It's right there, just beyond your grasp, and it's so easy to sort of hyper-focus in on that, when in reality, taking everything one game at a time, one matchup at a time, I think really just allows you to sort of ground yourself. It allows you to focus in better and really, think about the match ahead of you, which is the best thing you can do in such high-stress situations.
Yep, and of course, the next match that we're going to be broadcasting is going to be, well, it's a match that we've seen before.
We have, and I'm
Players
so
that we've seen
excited
before
for this.
on the stream. It is between Alberto Lara and Jean-Paul Lopez Buiza. Both players actually faced off yesterday in the last round of Swiss. Luckily for Alberto, despite losing that set, was still able to squeak into the top cut with the opponent's win percentage and even the opponent's win percentage. So, the tiebreakers played a huge part in Alberto making it to the top cut.
Yeah, and Jean-Paul, such a amazing team that he's been running. We can talk a little bit about it more later. For now, though, let's take a look at some of Alberto Lara's accomplishments, because we've talked about this before yesterday when he was on stream. But he has a crazy number of championship points this year, and even though these stats are highlighting some of his older finishes, aged finishes, if you will.
I wouldn't even consider them aged finishes.
Really?
If you think about it. Yeah. I mean, he's won multiple regional championships. He even won one that counted towards this championship point circuit at the Connecticut Regional Championships earlier on in the season. Of course, he's been around for a long time. I think in one season he actually won 2 regionals. He won the Lancaster Regional Championships out in California, won the Utah Regional Championships following suit right after that. But this season has been an amazing season for him. He is currently the leader of the North American leaderboards in championship point standings. He got top 8 at the Oceania International Championships, and here he is again, another top 8. Yeah, so he currently has 2 top cuts at the International Championships, piloting that team of Gengar, Landorstarian, Raichu, Tapu Fini, Araquanid, and Porygon 2, all nicknamed after his friends.
Yeah, and hopefully that power of friendship will help, propel him past that top 8 into top 4 here. He certainly had a lot of time to go back home, review his notes from playing Jean-Paul, at the end of the day yesterday. And, I hope that he's come up with, some sort of strategy on how to stop Jean-Paul, because, his team is just so crazy offensive. And I'm probably going to say that 3 more times just to emphasize how crazy offensive it is. But, first, a very accomplished player as well. Top 16 in the Anaheim Open. Again, that's that tournament that happens after the World Championships this past year. Finalist in the Bolivia Special Tournament. There was a Nationals in Peru in 2016 where he got top 8. And then 2015, a finalist in the Peru Regional. So another seasoned player who's just really been around for a long time and just has a lot of
Yeah, and
accomplishments.
he's been having a really strong season this year. You know, he's in the top 10, I believe, in the Latin American Championship point rating zone. And, you know, this tournament here, he's already taken back a lot more championship points as well. So expect him to, you know, jump up in the standings after this tournament, especially if he can continue winning and if he can defeat Alberto Lara just one more time. He's piloting that hyper-offensive team of Tapu Lele, Charizard, Bisharp, Tapu Koko, Cresselia, and Landers Therian.
Yeah, you know, and one thing I would like to see from Jean-Paul, you know, possibly in this matchup or possibly in the future, depending on how this game goes, I'd like to see, you know, more of his team that isn't really the hyper-offensive part. I really like the presence of Cresselia on this team. I think that Cresselia is sort of this great Pokemon when you're running hyper offense because it allows you to have this bulky pivot is the term that I use that can just soak up hits, you know, provide support for your other members of your team who might not be as bulky and just gives you a lot more flexibility that you otherwise wouldn't have. In terms of the matchup with Alberto, though, I don't really think that Jean-Paul needs to change up what he did yesterday. I think that he just had two very commanding victories against Alberto, and if Alberto sort of changes up how he approaches this match, you know, Jean-Paul will probably be forced to adjust in Game 2, potentially even Game 3 of this set. But for now, to start off with, I think he'd be just fine. You know, bringing that Charizard, Tapu Koko, the Landers, and I think we saw the Bisharp from him yesterday.
Yeah,
as well.
Jean-Paul actually brought the Bisharp. Never got a Defiant boost. You know, the Landers Therian was just never in or never switched in at the right time for Jean-Paul to capitalize on that Defiant boost on that Bisharp. You know, one thing that Alberto actually had happen to him in Game 2 yesterday of that last round match was just simply giving up like 2 Pokemon for free to that Landers Therian over on Jean-Paul's side. The Mega Gengar and that Raichu got KO'd right off the bat. So now into team preview between these two players. What adjustments have these players made after going back to tape? And Alberto has already locked in his Pokemon.
He's
studied.
About
He's
this.
studied.
Yes, he's definitely studied.
And
Looks
then
like
both players
Jean-Paul
have studied.
as well. I mean, that's the beautiful thing of this top cut is that you can go home and study. You can come into it fresh. I mean, it's possible that, you know, Alberto in that Game 2 when he gave up those 2 Pokemon, that could have simply been a sign of fatigue. And now, you know, hopefully he's gotten some sleep. Hopefully he's had a chance to sit down and sort of, you know, just think about how to play this. Given how quickly he locked in his Pokemon, I think it's safe to say that we're going to be seeing a lead that has a plan.
And here we go. It's going to be a very hyper-offensive lead again for Jean-Paul with that Landers Therian and the Charizard. Alberto going to lead with his own Landers Therian and that Porygon 2. So the speed control is heavily in favor of Alberto's side, but you do have to watch out. You know, Charizard and Landers can actually do a lot of damage and actually gets a special attack bonus too.
That's beautiful.
So that is actually the first time I think I've seen on stream so far this tournament that a Porygon 2 got a special attack boost. So again, you do have to respect that Landers does have access to superpower, and Charizard can go for some powerful attacks in the sun.
Yes, but, you know, there's also the Landorus on Alberto's side of the field to threaten that Charizard. So really, I think if Alberto can somehow manage to get Trick Room up right now, that'll put him in a great spot going into this Game 1.
Yep, and Charizard is going to Mega Evolve here. We already saw yesterday that it is the Y variant. Bisharp is going to go ahead and come right back in, probably trying to eat up an Ice Beam in that slot to protect that Landers Therian and keep it healthy for later on in this game. Charizard on Jean-Paul's side uses Heat Wave here, connects with both the Landers Therian and the Porygon 2. As Alberto using Rock Slide here, Charizard should be able to hang on thanks to that Intimidate from earlier on, but not very effective damage over on that Bisharp as Porygon 2 is able to set up Trick Room, but Bisharp will be able to underspeed that Landers Therian.
That is very true, but this is the Trick Room that Alberto was looking for all throughout round 8 of Swiss yesterday. So I think it's a great thing for him, if not mentally, to just get that Trick Room up turn 1 of this Game 1 in top 8 for him. He probably has the Araquanid in the back because that seemed pretty critical to his strategy that he was trying to set up yesterday. I don't really think this is the time to switch it in. Even though that Bisharp will probably underspeed his Landers, it might be time to just let it get knocked out here so that he can bring in the Araquanid fresh and then take things from there. And
Jean-Paul is going to preserve his Charizard as well. Tapu Lele is going to take the field here as it looks like Alberto's Porygon 2 uses Thunderbolt into what was that Charizard. Bisharp is actually free to go for a knockoff, and it is going to knock off that Landers and is enough to get the KO there. So now Alberto is actually going to be able to get up a Trick Room Sweeper in for free.
Yes, and that is perfect for him. I mean, this is the game he wanted all of yesterday. It's interesting that the Tapu Fini is the one that's going to be taking the field. It's possible that he doesn't want to reveal his fourth Pokemon, or it's possible that his fourth Pokemon won't benefit from Trick Room. Maybe he thought that the Tapu Fini and the Porygon 2 would be enough, given how fast and how offensive Jean-Paul's team is. I mean, we know that the Tapu Lele has a Choice Scarf, so we know it's going to be moving last. If Alberto can knock out this Bisharp with, a Thunderbolt Moonblast combo, that might have been helpful, but
Not
here
at
we are.
all. It looks like Tapu Lele is going to be able to hang on from that double up right there, as Tapu Lele is free to go for a Moonblast after Bisharp knocks off the Eviolite from the Porygon 2. So, really still being able to function in Trick Room. We know that both of Alberto's Pokemon are able to underspeed and get KOs right now.
Yes, and that's going to bring it down to 2-on-3 with looks
Two
like
turns,
two
two
turns
turns.
of Trick Room left, which means that Alberto will have a chance to deal a little bit more chip damage onto that Charizard and that Landorus on John Paul's side of the field, and then whatever he has remaining will be sort of what's going to come in, I think, once Trick Room is done.
Yep, Landorus Therian is going to switch in here. Going to go ahead and use Intimidate, but not going to matter at all. Really, also, Jean-Paul has to try to position himself so that Charizard can come back in and reset the Sunlight. That is actually about to expire as well. Porygon 2 using this turn here to recover, going to heal back all of its health, and that's why Porygon 2 can just stay out on the field for so long. Tapu Fini now going for a Moonblast into that Bisharp Protect, and this is going to be the last turn of Trick Room here, and it's also going to be the last turn of Sunlight. So Jean-Paul really able to capitalize on more Sunlight if he wants to.
Yes, so I think that's really great positioning for him as well. I think this Bisharp's going to get knocked out this turn. I'm not sure if he really thinks he leads it anymore, because we haven't seen the Gengar out on the field on Alberto's side, and it already knocked off the Eviolite, so that's he could knock off the berry that Tapu Fini is holding as well, but it's not necessary. It might be a bonus for him, because with the combination of the Sunlight and all the other Pokemon that he has with him, he should be able to deal enough damage to knock out that Tapu Fini before it's able to Calm Mind and otherwise sort of charge itself up to be as big of a threat as some of his other Pokemon are.
Landorus Therian switches out. Tapu Lele hits the field, just really sacrificial at this point, just trying to get two fresh Pokemon in and try to go hyper offensive mode here. Oh no!
Oh no!
Jean-Paul goes for the Sucker Punch, just trying to go ahead and get a little bit of chip damage before it gets KO'd, but not going to matter because of the Psychic Terrain.
That had to be a misplay, unfortunately.
Yep, Jean-Paul is definitely shaking his head, but, sacrificing that Tapu Lele to allow your Charizard and Landorus to come in might actually be a play anyways. If that Bisharp just didn't go for it, that could have been a KO'd Landorus or a heavily damaged Landorus. Charizard could have come in. Don't want it to take too much damage, especially since it's already been damaged by the Rock Slide. So Jean-Paul kind of in a bad spot here, thanks to that Trick Room from 5 turns ago.
Yeah, and this is why Trick Room is so scary when you're running a team like Jean-Paul. You once it's up, you have to wait it out. You don't really have a way to reverse it unless maybe your Cresselia knows Trick Room, but we haven't seen that Cresselia from him yet.
Yeah, so now it's going to come down to whether or not Jean-Paul can actually prevent Trick Room from coming right back up.
It's hard to say. I mean, we know that Porygon 2 doesn't have its Eviolite anymore, so maybe a Sun-charged Heat Wave with an attack superpower preferred from that Landorus would be enough to knock it out.
There's a Heat Wave. Here's an Earthquake. Is it going to be enough to KO this Porygon 2 without that Eviolite? It's going to be pretty close because Porygon 2 is a pretty bulky Pokemon, but here it goes. It is enough to get the KO. And Jean-Paul has put himself back in it with his 2 go-to leads.
Yeah, so now Alberto is down to that last Pokemon, and the fact that he was going for Trick Room again, probably a good indication that, what we were assuming earlier is wrong. He wanted that Trick Room up, and it looks like it's going to be the Araquanid that he had in the back. So if he could have gotten Trick Room up, that would have been great, but unfortunately for him, once Porygon 2 loses its Eviolite, all of its bulk is gone, and even though he did his best to try and bring its health back up with that recover and, give it the best possible chance, the combination of this Flamethrower and the Earthquake from that Landorus T, or even just, a knockoff for now, will eventually knock it out. One more turn.
Yep, and the Liquidation from Araquanid lands into that Landorus slot, but that is not enough thanks to the Sunlight from that Charizard. So Jean-Paul, again, just positioning himself very precariously to allow him 5 more turns of Sunlight. That really mitigates the amount of damage that the Araquanid can do. And here comes a Flamethrower. That should do it here. For Game 1, Jean-Paul Lopez Buiza is just 1 win away from moving on to the top 4.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I mean, the way he handled Trick Room, which is something that I find a little bit counterintuitive to the style of team that he's running, is he essentially just didn't let it affect him. You know, he kept his, switches very productive. You know, he made sure that the Pokemon that he was switching in could take the hits that he needed them to take. I mean, at one point he had his Tapu Lele out on the field, even though it has that Choice Scarf item under Trick Room. You know, most times players try to avoid doing that, but he knew that the Charizard and the Landorus combination with the Sun up on the field would be enough for him late game, and I think that was just a very strong sort of strategy from him. It looks like Alberto locked in really quickly again. Could be an indication that he's going to try and, go for Trick Room, maybe not let that Bisharp knock off the Eviolite so easily this time around. So Jean-Paul, I think...
Oh, wow, both of these players know what they want. They've already locked in it after just like 30 seconds of looking at team preview.
It's clear to me that these trainers have put a lot of thought into this matchup, and we'll have to see if it's going to pay off.
I mean,
that was very close.
This is their fourth time playing. Alberto definitely has made the right adjustments.
Yes.
This one kind of pushing Jean-Paul almost to the edge, almost being able to actually steal that one away from Jean-Paul right there. But Jean-Paul just knew what position he needed, and he played extremely well. Here we go. Alberto Lara going to lead with Tapu Fini and Porygon 2. Jean-Paul is actually going to go ahead and change the leads as well. Going to lead with Charizard and that Tapu Lele. The Tapu Fini is going to be the one able to set up that terrain. We already know that that is a Choice Scarf because that is a speedy Tapu Lele, and Porygon 2 is actually going to get an attack boost.
Yeah, so the attack boost not that relevant for this Porygon 2. The more interesting thing I can see out in the field right now is that, again, nothing threatens this Porygon 2 to stop the Trick Room. Maybe Jean-Paul was hoping that a Psychic Terrain boosted Psychic plus the Sun boosted Flamethrower would be enough, but, Tapu Lele doesn't have the terrain, so I think this Porygon 2 is going to be able to hang out on the field and use Trick Room, but more scary. That Tapu Fini might be able to get a Calm Mind in.
Ooh, Tapu Lele actually uses Taunt right here. That is a Choice Scarf Taunt Tapu Lele, preventing the Trick Room from being able to come up. It looks like the Porygon 2 is going to dodge that Heat Wave, but the damage is done. The Taunt has been laid out. Tapu Fini using this turn to set up a Calm Mind. Jean-Paul is going to have to spend one turn to switch out that Tapu Lele, though, unless this is going to stay in. And, taunting the Tapu Fini actually isn't a bad option either, because right now there isn't much offense out there that can threaten this Tapu Fini, especially after it's gotten that Calm Mind boost up.
Yeah, I mean, the Taunt would stop it from getting another Calm Mind up at all. Another Calm Mind up as well, which would be a pretty decent play for him right now, and I think he can afford to do that. Keeping that Taunt secret for all 4 of these games was huge. I mean, we saw Trick Room do so much for Alberto in Game 1. It's shut down, so Alberto, he either has to make a switch and then get that Porygon 2 back out on the field, or he has to, leave himself open to potentially lose that Eviolite, start taking chip damage on that Porygon 2 to knock out the Tapu Lele so that it won't be able to re-taunt that Porygon 2 once it expires or once he switches it out.
Tapu Lele switching out here. Landorus coming in. No taunt on that Tapu Fini. But of course, Landorus will be hitting it on its weaker defense side because Calm Mind only boosts special defense here. Charizard using Flamethrower, single target damage here. Then going to hit into that Porygon 2 slot, doing good damage as Tapu Fini using Moonblast, going to land into what was that Tapu Lele slot, doing about 40% right there. That Assault Vest on that Landorus so well, and the Ice Beam actually lands in that slot too, and Landorus barely hangs on.
That was a great play by Alberto, though. If you're going to go for an attack, you might as well hope that your opponent switches out and use Ice Beam there. We saw it use Thunderbolt a couple times on that Charizard as well, but I don't think that Thunderbolt would have been able to knock out the Charizard at this point in time. So being able to double into the Tapu Lele or the Landorus, or really any Pokemon that Jean-Paul sends in, was a great option for him there. But he's still going to have to switch around a bit if he wants to try and eventually get Trick Room up again to try and take the win.
Landorus switching in here. That Intimidate is going to be big against Jean-Paul's Landorus as Charizard again using single target Flamethrower. That isn't an Assault Vest Landorus though, so it's going to be taking a lot of damage. Hangs on with just a sliver of health. Here comes the Earthquake. It is intimidating now. Tapu Fini will definitely be able to hang on here, barring a critical hit, and maybe go for a Muddy Water to try to get the KO and spread some damage out onto that Charizard. It lands on both Pokemon right here. It is mitigated by that harsh sunlight having the amount of damage it's going to do, but more importantly, it gets the KO on that Landorus and gets some damage drop, or some health down, and an accuracy drop on that on that Charizard.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge because, Heat Wave isn't that accurate to begin with, so you know, Jean-Paul's going to have to think really carefully. Does he want to risk Heat Wave connecting, or would he rather just attack one Pokemon somewhat more consistently? Because it is an accuracy drop, which means all of Charizard's moves will be slightly more inaccurate now. He could spend some time to switch the Charizard out and then send in something else onto the field to mitigate that. But again, that's time, and that's time that Alberto can use to start gaining back some of his momentum.
Tapu Lele comes out on the field, making the battlefield weird. You know, Jean-Paul has to be worried, well, a bit more careful about where those Sucker Punch lands if Bisharp is actually in the back, so you have to be careful about that.
Yes, so we'll see if he brought the Bisharp. It looks like he did.
Yep, Bisharp comes in right here, replacing that Charizard. Gonna reset that accuracy drop. Don't want Charizard to stay in and maybe miss a Flamethrower or a Heat Wave as a Double Protect comes out from Alberto's Pokemon. Gonna try to see what Jean-Paul is up to. Dazzling Gleam comes out and connects into both Protects. So right there, just trying to spread some damage and get the KO on that Landorus.
Yes, so now we're in a position where that Dazzling Gleam should do enough chip damage to that Tapu Fini that the Bisharp, I think, should be able to knock it out regardless of what attack it decides to use. I'm a little bit concerned, like maybe with that Dazzling Gleam and with the Calm Mind boost, it might not do enough damage to activate that Wiki Berry that Tapu Fini's holding. I think that's what we're going to see here, but, you know, it's going to be a close call. It looks like it isn't enough. So this Bisharp should be free to use knockoff and get that knockout.
Or even Iron Head. Yep, that is neutral damage, and that gets the KO right there. So Alberto now, again, losing Pokemon really fast. He still has that Porygon 2 and one more Pokemon in the back that has not been revealed yet. Could be the Araquanid maybe to try to take advantage of Trick Room here because that Tapu Lele has locked itself into Dazzling Gleam.
Yeah, I mean, if Alberto's going to try and go for a Trick Room, this is the turn to do so. You know, Bisharp could use the turn to knock off the Eviolite on that Porygon 2, but I think his only way to stop Trick Room at this point would be to hope for an Iron Head flinch. So, you know, maybe switch out the Tapu Lele so that it can come back in later, either with a Psychic or with a, Taunt if the Trick Room, you know, if this game goes on that long. I don't think it will at this point. Or he could, try and otherwise readjust. But I think weakening those liquidations is probably a good place to start.
Charizard hits the field here. The Drought does reactivate. Gonna go ahead and reduce the amount of damage that those liquidations will do. Bisharp using knockoff, gonna knock off that berry on that Araquanid, doing 50% too, so good damage as liquidation from Araquanid connects with that Bisharp. In the sun, gonna do about 40%, and Trick Room finally comes up. So Alberto, this is his chance right now to come back. Trick Room is up, Araquanid is able to underspeed everything and do some big damage. Liquidation might be able to get the KO on that Charizard in the sun from this range.
It might, but then you have to worry about the Bisharp as well, because this Porygon 2 will not be able to knock out a Bisharp, a Charizard, and that Tapu Lele. You know, there's just too many Pokemon for it to go through. I think he's going to have to think really carefully about, you know, what Pokemon he wants to target down. Maybe even double into the Bisharp here and hope that the Charizard will only or protect or otherwise try to block that liquidation from getting that knockout. I think honestly Jean-Paul is really safe here to just attack with both of these Pokemon, and you know, Alberto's only going to be able to get one knockout, and if he tries to play some guessing games, that might be costly.
Bisharp protects here, Charizard also protects here, stalling out the Trick Room as much as he possibly can because, well, this Araquanid can do a lot of damage here. It's going to be a Thunderbolt and a double up into that Bisharp with that liquidation, so Alberto really just trying to KO that Bisharp outright.
Yeah, and I really liked how Porygon 2 switched to Thunderbolt there, because on the off chance that Liquidation got a critical hit and was able to knock out that Bisharp, then the Thunderbolt would have retargeted into that Charizard and done more damage than something like an Ice Beam. So just really smart thinking there. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, though. He knows that both these Pokemon can't protect now, so that's at least one thing he doesn't have to take into consideration for his predictions. Unless he thinks that Jean-Paul's going to go for a double protect, but that's just so unnecessarily risky.
No double protects here. Araquanid using liquidation on that Charizard, able to get the KO on that Charizard from that range in the sunlight. So Tapu Lele is going to be hitting the field again after this. Porygon 2 Thunderbolt lands in that Bisharp slot. No! Oh! The paralysis right there, so Bisharp might not even be able to move, and it is, though, going to knock off that Eviolite on that Porygon 2, reducing the bulk. And Tapu Lele actually comes right back in to be able to set that Psychic Terrain, so Bisharp
no Sucker Punch.
Yeah, Bisharp not going to be able to set that Sucker Punch, but if Tapu Lele hangs on, which it might be able to from a liquidation in the sun, Uh, well,
You have to.
Bug Bite would probably be the better option there, but Tapu Lele might be able to hang on because I just don't think that the damage output's enough.
Yeah, you have to wonder though if you're Alberto. I mean, this Bisharp now,
It's actually slower too,
It's
yeah.
slower, yeah. Its speed's been lowered. I don't think it'll underspeed that Arachnid, but I'm pretty sure it'll underspeed that Porygon too. Like, you sort of have to knock out the Bisharp and then, hope that this Tapu Lele's Dazzling Gleam won't be enough to knock you out. Fortunately, it can't protect, so there aren't really any more of those mind games going on. It's all just going to come down to damage output, and this Dazzling Gleam from Tapu Lele, it's one of the Alolan Guardians with, higher special attack, valued for its ability to do damage. And Jean-Paul could also be a little bit risky and go for
it actually
Psych.
does.
Oh!
Hangs on with 3 hit points, already knocked off that berry. Liquidation connects onto that Bisharp and gets the KO. Alberto Lara might have what it takes here to be able to come back Porygon 2 using this turn to recover, but it looks like this Tapu Lele will be able to go for a Dazzling Gleam here to get the KO. No, just goes for the Psychic, just trying to get out big damage on that Porygon 2, but Porygon 2 hangs on.
All right. So that recover was really great there because, otherwise he wouldn't be able to double into the Tapu Lele this turn. I mean, alternatively, Porygon 2 could keep recovering at this point, but he'd just be stalling out his own Trick Room, at which point, the Tapu Lele would more than happy be able to fire off those Psychics at full speed. So it's going to come down to whether or not, the Bug Bite or the Liquidation. I'm assuming we're going to see a Bug Bite here, plus the Thunderbolt or the Ice Beam from that Porygon 2 will be enough to knock out that Tapu Lele in one hit. I honestly don't know. I mean, we know this Tapu Lele is very fast and very strong, so it's probably not trained in defenses by that much, but sometimes trainers like to sacrifice a little bit of that speed or a little bit of that attacking power so that they can, survive crazy situations like this.
And here comes the Liquidation from the Arachnid, landing in that Tapu Lele slot, doing about 40% right there. Porygon 2 just going to recover, but Trick Room's going to expire after this turn, and Tapu Lele will be able to continue to outdamage the recovers. Tapu Lele's Psychic again lands into that Porygon 2 slot, and that brings it down all the way to 24 hit points. Twisted Dimensions return to normal, but I mean, Tapu Lele right now can go for the KO on either Pokemon of its choice.
You have to wonder if Jean-Paul is targeting down that Porygon 2 because he's more afraid of Alberto trying to play down the timer in some way, shape, or form. But, his time is still 2 minutes, so Alberto just taking it down to the wire here.
Tapu Lele using Psychic into that Porygon 2. Alberto's actually celebrating right here. Liquidation is no longer not affected by the drought, and this Liquidation should be enough to get the KO on that Tapu Lele.
No.
Here it comes. It is enough to get the KO, and Alberto Lara just inching his way back into this battle.
Wow, that was an incredibly close game too. I'm honestly really surprised we didn't see Jean-Paul target down that Arachnid because I think it was pretty clear that that Porygon 2 was just going to keep recovering, and that Tapu Lele was out damaging those recovers. So really, if you knock out your opponent's Pokemon that can deal damage, that allows you to, basically stop the stall and stop them worrying about taking out your own attacker. So that might have been a misplay from him, and the pressure might be getting to him.
I think even then, if the Porygon 2 can actually continue to recover, eventually the Psychic Train would actually run out.
That's
so
true, and then it would
the
do less
output
damage.
would not be enough anyway. So I think Alberto was pretty safe at that point. Obviously it's different from us coming from this third-person perspective compared to what it's like down there in the hot seats. But, that was a close battle. Alberto just playing to his outs, and he's already locked in. He knows what he wants, and now Jean-Paul taking a little bit more time to try to decide what he wants to do.
You have to wonder. I mean, that game was so close. I don't really know if he needs to adjust per se in terms of his Pokemon. I mean, he's brought the same 4 Pokemon for both these games so far, so I think he's pretty confident that these are the Pokemon that he wants to bring into this battle. He might be trying to debate order. Maybe he's considering leading that Bisharp so that he can threaten to knock off that Porygon 2 right away, get rid of that Eviolite right away, and then hopefully knock it out before it can Trick Room, as quickly as possible. Because it seems like to me, once Alberto loses that Porygon 2, the rest of his strategy kind of sort of disintegrates. We saw that in Game 1. We saw that sort of throughout yesterday on the couple matches we had for him on stream. But, in Game 2, he was given the Porygon 2. The Porygon 2 was able to stay out on the field, was able to keep Trick Rooming, and as a result, he was able to eventually win the game.
And here we go. Game 3 between these two players. Alberto has made the adjustments. Jean-Paul has also made adjustments. The rematch from the last round of Swiss here in the top cut between Alberto Lara and Jean-Paul Lopez Buiza. intense battle coming up. That was a down-to-the-wire Game 2 for Alberto, forcing Game 3, and here we are. Winner of this game moves on to the top 4, and this is it. These are the Pokemon that both players have decided to opt with. It looks like Tapu Koko is going to be the adjustment that Jean-Paul decides to go with. Porygon 2 and Tapu Fini are the Pokemon that Alberto decided to go with, and Lannister is the Pokemon that Jean-Paul has to partner up with that Tapu Koko.
So because of the Tapu Fini, that means Tapu Koko won't be getting the electric terrain, but I would hope that Jean-Paul maybe saw that coming.
And special attack boost for that Porygon 2, so this
We saw
Porygon
that.
2 is a very good Porygon 2 for Alberto.
You have to wonder if that special attack boost is going to be enough for it to knock out that Landorus Therian. I don't think we've seen that interaction yet on stream. But you have to wonder, like, we saw the Tapu Fini lead in Game 2. I would imagine that Jean-Paul is thinking that Tapu Koko would not have its terrain going into the start of Game 3 as a lead. So I think we're going to see an adjustment from him here, as we've already seen Alberto, send in his own Intimidate to weaken the opposing Landorus.
And this could also be taking a electric type attack from that Tapu Koko as well, but instead it's just a Volt Switch into that Landorus Therian. Not going to be able to switch out right there as the Eviolite gets knocked off by the Landorus Therian on Jean-Paul's side as Trick Room gets to come up. Now Porygon 2 is going to be threatening that Landorus Therian with a special attack boosted Ice Beam. Should still be able to hang on though.
Yeah, so interesting to note, 2 knockoff users on Jean-Paul's team, that Bisharp and the Landorus Therian. I really like that. I think having that utility is going to serve him well. I mean, this Porygon 2, yes, it got Trick Room up, but Eviolite has already been removed, and we've seen Jean-Paul sort of play down the turns of Trick Room very well in the past. So all he has to do now is get that turn timer down to 0, have the Twisted Dimensions return to normal, and then he should be able to, knock out that Porygon 2 and just start dealing damage. But another adjustment revealed.
Cresselia is another adjustment that Jean-Paul has decided to bring. Ice Beam connects on Landorus, but Landorus barely hangs on. Landorus content with just using Earthquake, just trying to get some damage out onto that Porygon 2 here. It is going to be spread damage there, but Porygon 2 has had its Eviolite knocked off, bringing it down to a little over 50%. Alberto's Landorus Therian going to go for the Rock Slide, connects on that Landorus Therian on Jean-Paul's side, and a big offensive threat is gone on Jean-Paul's side.
You have to wonder what he was thinking with that Cresselia as the adjustment. I mean, as I was mentioning earlier, Cresselia, very bulky pivot, would have been great to switch out that Landorus there and have the Cresselia take its spot instead, but maybe he's looking to do some, helping hand shenanigans with this Charizard, but as long as Trick Room's up on the field, there's a high likelihood that the Landorus on Alberto's side of the field is going to move first, because I think we saw it's a slower Landorus. It's not running that Choice Scarf item. It's not otherwise maximizing its speed stats.
Charizard using Protect here. Porygon 2 using Recover. Going to heal back all that damage that Landorus Therian did. So pretty much Landorus Therian got KO'd for nothing. Cresselia slowing things down a bit with the Icy Wind. Going to land into that Landorus Therian slot. Going to slow its roll a little bit here. But that's just going to help it under Trick Room. Does some super effective damage, but just not enough to really get another KO with an Icy Wind as Charizard protects itself from the Rock Slide, as that just does chip damage to Cresselia.
Yeah, so I think what Jean-Paul's going to do here is he's going to keep going for Icy Winds. 1, to deal more damage onto that Landorus, and 2, to just make things better once Trick Room expires in 2 turns. But, I think he has to switch out the Charizard this turn, send in that Tapu Koko, hope it survives this turn, have it use Protect next turn if it knows it, and then that's how he gets out of Trick Room.
And Tapu Koko does hit the field here. Alberto is carrying that Groundium Z. Landorus could be a Tectonic Rage in that Tapu Koko, or even just an Earthquake here, predicting that Charizard switch out. But Alberto just going to use Rock Slide here, going to land into that Tapu Koko slot, bring it down to about 30% of its hit points as Cresselia continues to go for Icy Winds here. So Cresselia is going to be able to remove the threat of that Landorus Therian from the field, I believe, before that Charizard comes in. Yeah.
But look at how much damage that Porygon 2 did to the Tapu Koko with the Ice Beam. You have to wonder, now that Electric Terrain is up, how much damage is Thunderbolt going to do to that Cresselia? I mean, yes, it's bulky, but that's still a ton of chip damage for that Cresselia to be taking just to stall out the remainder of this Trick Room. Jean-Paul has to be incredibly confident that just the Cresselia and the Charizard alone can take on all 4 of Alberto's remaining Pokemon, because it's highly likely that's what he's going to be facing once this Trick Room expires.
Yeah, and I've lost count of the turns. I think Trick Room is still up, right?
It is. This is the last turn.
Okay. Yeah, so Tapu Koko is probably going to get KO'd here unless it's able to protect. Cresselia actually hasn't tried to reverse the Trick Room at all, just opting for this Icy Wind chip damage. So Jean-Paul just thinking to himself, I'm just going to spread some damage with this Cresselia Tapu Koko protects here, and Cresselia should be able to hang on for the rest of this turn. But again, Alberto's actually. So remember, the Tectonic Rage will be able to go to protect. Alberto Lara is celebrating something here with that ally switch. The Thunderbolt lands in that Cresselia slot. Here comes a Tectonic Rage. Tapu Koko will not be able to hang on. It's going to do enough chip damage, I believe, from this range. So Alberto celebrating right here. Oh,
Jean-Paul just, it looks like he was expecting the, or he
Yes! It lands in that Tapu Koko slot.
Gosh. He was expecting the ally switch. That was just Alberto was expecting the ally switch. That was such a great play. It even picked up the knockout on that Tapu Koko through Protect.
Wow.
Just a great read there. And ally switch is arguably the hardest move to predict in, VGC because it is just so random. It's one of those things that you can't count on existing, and even once you know it exists, there's no sort of consistency to it. It's just you have to keep asking yourself every single turn, do I think my opponent will do this? And
Jean-Paul didn't even reveal ally switch yet. He has not brought Cresselia to these matches.
He didn't, so Alberto was just able to know. That was really well played by him.
And
wow.
Here we go. Charizard is going to Mega Evolve right now. Cresselia might have to try to predict if a Trick Room is going to come up. Charizard going to activate the Drought. Finally, Mega Evolving this game can put down a lot of damage on the board here. As Cresselia goes for a Helping Hand. No Protects, I believe, coming out from that Landorus. Here comes a Heat Wave. Landorus actually dodges it.
He needed to hit.
And Porygon 2 takes so much damage but hangs on. Does get burned, but that chip damage isn't going to matter. Alberto's Landorus going to go for a Rock Slide. I don't think it's been intimidated, and that is not enough to KO that Charizard just yet. But Trick Room should be able to come up. But no, just goes straight for the Thunderbolt. Going to land in that Charizard, and the biggest offensive threat on Jean-Paul's side has finally been removed. And it looks like Alberto, with that clutch prediction of that ally switch, might be able to steal the set away from Jean-Paul with the adjustments he's made.
I don't know. I mean, that was just so insane of a read. You have to wonder, maybe he found out through, some of Jean-Paul's other matches that he had ally switch on that Cresselia. But
and
still,
there it is, the forfeit.
To have the confidence to predict that, when there's so much on the line, I cannot emphasize enough how insane of a read that was. I mean, that's the kind of play that you make not only to make top 4 of an international championship, but potentially to even take you into the finals. So just really well played by Alberto. Really well done by Jean-Paul as well. If it wasn't for that single read, I think he would have been the one moving on into top 4 here. So it just goes to show you how insanely scary of a team he's managed to bring to the international stage. And I think, this Charizard, Tapu Koko, Landorus, Therian, Cresselia core, this is not the end of these Pokemon and us seeing them at the international championships. I highly believe that we'll be seeing this team again and again and again until the 2018 format concludes.
Yeah, and Jean-Paul played exceptionally well, being able to take 3 straight games off of Alberto, but Alberto kept his calm, was able to take the 2 that really mattered. I mean, obviously yesterday's last match mattered, but this one is a big one for Alberto to be able to, you lost 3 straight games to this opponent of yours, and here you are again, backs against the wall. Guess what? I'm just making the adjustments. I'm just going to make these plays, and now he is in the top 4. He broke through, and this is going to be his highest international finish yet.
I'm just still thinking about that ally switch play. I mean, it's one of those plays that just captures you mentally. It's just oh my God. Because I mean, it's just so insane. And I know ally switch has been very sort of polarizing is the word I'm going to use amongst the VGC community, because again, it's just one of those moves that you have to think about so much, so hard, and you usually don't even know if your opponent's Cresselia has it until too late. But he knew and he read it, and that is the sign of a potential international champion.
Yeah. So again, well played set from both players. That was an amazing set that just went to 3 games. Wow, just, I really enjoyed how Alberto kind of knew the game plan. He knew what 4 Pokemon he always needed,
yes,
and he always brought this exact same 4. Didn't change anything up. Yesterday, the 2 Pokemon that got KO'd right out off the bat was that Gengar and that Raichu, and just Alberto did not decide to bring it at all. And, Jean-Paul, he had to think about that last game. We saw him make the most adjustments coming into that game, thinking to himself, my tournament life is on the line. What am I going to do here? And he definitely had a lot of good pieces, but you have to wonder, was reversing that Trick Room going to be a play that he should have done earlier instead of allowing Alberto's team to operate under Trick Room for 5 turns?
It's interesting that you mentioned that because you have to wonder, like, he probably didn't just bring that Cresselia for the ally switch. I think the helping hand with the Charizard was probably something he was really banking on. It was really unfortunate about that Heat Wave miss as well, because that definitely would have at least given him a shot towards the end of the game. But yeah, Cresselia usually, when it knows ally switch and helping hand, also carries with it, Trick Room. So whether or not, he thought he could stall out the rest of that Trick Room, I mean, obviously he did, and he seemed to do that pretty well, but getting that Trick Room off the field a little bit sooner, might have been advantageous for him, but still very well played. The way that he was able to operate his team within Trick Room, even though it's not a Trick Room team, and, the fact that he didn't even think he needed to reverse it, I think just shows a lot of confidence in his play style, and I really hope that we get to see him on the international stage again, because that was so much fun to watch.
He was a very strong representative.
Yes.
Jean-Paul Lopez Buiza was a very strong representative of the Peruvian VGC community. If you're from Peru, you should be proud of Jean-Paul. If you're anywhere in the world, you should be proud of the finish that Jean-Paul has actually brought.
Yes.
So many championship points have been earned. He's also earned cash prizes. He already has a Worlds invite. We might even see him at the World Championships.
I really hope we do, and I really hope we get to see more of this, crazy offensive team from him, because I really like that play style, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but commiserations to him. Congratulations to Alberto Lara for making it to the top 4. We're going to take a quick break, but when we're back, an interview with the winner of the previous match, Alberto Lara. Welcome back, everybody, to the 2018 Pokemon Video Game Latin American International Championships. My name is Dweha. I am joined by the winner of the previous match, your new, well, I guess one of the members to the top 4, Alberto Lara. Alberto, how are you feeling right now, man?
Yeah, amazing. I mean, that was a really, really tough matchup. I mean, I played him last round yesterday, and he destroyed me, and I was like, well, I got to play him in top cut again. I'm probably going to lose, but if I can work some stuff out, I can maybe win, and I was able to do it. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I mean, you lost 3 straight games to him, right? And, you know, going into game 2, I mean, what were your thoughts into that game?
Game 1 was a kind of close. Like if my Porygon 2 was able to live the Earthquake plus Heat Wave combination, I think that's what it was, then I probably would have won the game, but my Eviolite was knocked off. So I knew that those 4 are still the correct 4 that I have to bring. Like the only thing that I can switch out is maybe the Landorus for the Raichu, but I knew that like I have a game plan. These are the members that I have to win with.
Yeah, and you were telling me that it was actually coming down to a 50-50 at the end of game 2. I would just want to know, like, how are you feeling during that? Like, were you just, or were you, like, happy, excited? How are you feeling during that moment of 50-50?
Really happy. I mean, it was a 50-50, but also I was like, I can still Ice Beam freeze. So basically for that turn, it was like kind of a 55-45, and I obviously went for the 55, because if he Psychics the Raquanate, I get Trick Room up, and I can potentially Ice Beam freeze him. So I still have a chance, even if I lose that 50-50. So yeah, basically I was like, well, I'm just going to attack, double attack, and hope it works out, and it did.
Yeah, it definitely paid off. I mean, you just punch your ticket to the top 4. You're going to be facing off against Melvin K. I think I got to ask you one more question about that match with Jean-Paul, the ally switch.
Yeah.
Did you know it was there or what?
Yes, I did. I knew it was there. So basically, I was like, he's either going to switch the Coco out into the Landers predicting the tech rage, or he's going to protect and ally switch to stall out the last turn of Trick Room. And luckily, I called it.
And it definitely paid off. Ladies and gentlemen, your newest member of the top 4 here at the Latin American International Championships, Alberto Lara. I'm going to go ahead and let you rest. That's it for us for now. But guess what? There's still one more top 8 match to watch, so stay tuned. When we're back, Alex Gomez versus Carson Confer.
This is the closest thing that comes to being an actual Pokemon trainer. My name is Steven Morioka. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I'm here to compete in the Pokemon National Championships. So I got started in the summer of 1999, so very early on. When we first started, my whole family played the trading card game, and specifically my brother and sister and myself, we all played the video game. We each had different Pokemon versions. It was always convenient for all of us to have those starters and be able to trade with each other to get all the Pokemon. My brother, he's been extremely successful. He won the national championship in 2010. Always having to try to live up to that name is difficult. That keeps on pushing me to strive to get better, improve my gameplay, and hopefully one day I can become a national champion just like him. But it's extremely difficult, so I gotta keep working hard. We have a great community in Chicago for Pokemon, specifically for the video game side. We have a lot of players in the Chicago area, very good ones, and to get the opportunity to continually play them frequently, it's an amazing experience. When we go to larger major tournaments such as Nationals or the World Championships, you have that group that you're familiar with from your local events, and you guys are kind of a team because you're the local area, you want to root for your friends. They're there to pick you up. Whether you're doing well or doing poorly, they've got your back. They're your friends. There's a huge deal that goes into the competitive scene, and just understanding the game and trying to continue to get better, learning all these strategic elements from your friends, from your competitors. It's been very challenging, and I think the greatest thing about Pokemon is that it's a game that can continue to challenge you no matter how much you think you know about it. The Pokemon community is great in that no matter what happens in the tournaments, you're all friends at the end of the day. You're still competitors, but you wish each other success, good fortunes in life and in Pokemon. What the Pokemon community has done for me is, helped me grow as a person and as a player, and I keep continuing to learn not just about Pokemon, but about life. You have this opportunity to compete, try and be successful. If you do, great. If not, you move on to the next tournament. You just keep preparing and train on. Regardless of the outcome, just realizing you can continue to improve yourself as a player, yourself as a person through playing Pokemon is just amazing in itself.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 2018 Pokemon Video Game Latin American International Championships.
Yay!
My name's still Dwee.
Still Gabby.
Really?
No.
We've beaten that joke to its KOing point, so it's just, I think we should just stop it. I think the audience at home I think they know that we're still us.
Okay.
I think so.
I mean, I was going to say, now is the time to come up with cool nicknames for each other. Dweej?
Nope, just Dwee.
Just Dwee?
Oh,
I tried.
boy.
I tried. Anyways, we are here, top 8, still hyped, still excited to be bringing you
One
these
more.
amazing matches. This is our last one featuring the last person we haven't shown yet on stream, Alex Gomez versus Carson Confer.
This is a big battle.
It's a big battle.
Big battle. Both players are
Capital
no
B?
strangers. Big battle.
Double capital B. All right, got it.
Both these players are no strangers to the international stage. Alex Gomez, considered one of the greatest players in the world, no matter what format it is. He's just had such a long, storied career from the seniors division, aging up to the masters division, and still doing well. And of course, Carson Confer has done the same.
Yeah.
Won the seniors division world championship and has had just strong campaign after strong campaign after winning that world championship. So both of these players, again, no stranger to this big international stage. Both players know what each other are playing. Carson has already had to face off against Eric Rios yesterday in the last round of Swiss. Almost was able to steal game 2 and force a game 3 away from Eric Rios, but just fell just a little short. But now Carson Confer has actually had one day to rest, think about the game plan against the exact same team, because Alex and Eric are running the exact same team.
I was going to say, and if you want even more storylines on top of that, Alex Gomez and Eric Rios, they built this team together. If Alex wins, then he's facing off against his friend Eric to get into the finals and to be the representative from Spain here in this tournament. So that is a huge amount of, pressure almost. Like, How do you go into a match knowing that if you win, you have to play like arguably one of your best friends for top, for the finalist position in a tournament?
And it even goes the other way too. If you think about it, if Carson Confer defeats Alex Gomez, he actually has to go up against the exact same team against the player that actually beat him in the last round of Swiss yesterday.
It's almost like he has to play a best of 5 in order to get into the finals here.
Yeah.
It's almost like a fighting game, like Pokken Tournament. But it's not.
I mean, we already saw Alberto be able to overcome Jean-Paul Luis Buiza in a rematch, so I think if any player can also do it, it might be Carson Confer, who we're going to go ahead and take a look right now on the stage. Both players are already seated and ready to go into this last top 8 match.
So that must be really anxious too, because Carson, he knows what he's going to be facing. He probably has this plan in his head, and he really wants to start executing, just get it over with potentially. But like you said, senior world champion in 2016, got top 4 at the European International Championships this past November, and top 4 at Dallas Regionals earlier in January of this year.
Yeah, again, strong campaign after strong campaign. He is piloting a Rain team. Rain is always one of those team archetypes that always comes up, running with that Politoed, that Ludicolo, Mega Caesar, Tapu Koko, Landers and the Bisharp.
It's such a fun Rain team too, It harkens back to like some of the Rain teams from earlier formats with that Mega Caesar. A really interesting and unique pick. I personally love it because of, its typing advantage against the other Alolan Guardians out, in play right now. But unfortunately for him, he doesn't have much to stop the Mimikyu and Snorlax combo on Alex's side of the field. That really scared him the other day. He, had to worry about Trick Room. He had to worry about Belly Drum. And unless he has something that he was saving, for today, on the off chance that he had to play that team again going into Top Cut, he has a uphill battle for him to face.
Of course, Carson did make it to the top 4 at the London EU International Championships just a couple of months ago, so maybe Carson wants to emulate that performance again and make it back to the top 4. And, why stop there? Why not try to win a championship while you're at it, right?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, he's so close. It's just so unfortunate for him that he has to play this team again in essentially a best of 5 at this point to make it into the finals.
Sometimes that could actually be a good thing. Maybe Carson was able to think about this, think about this matchup a little bit more while getting some rest, and knows exactly what he needs to do in order to stop, Alex Gomez, who is just right across from him on the table. And Alex Gomez, again, another storied player, the undefeated, did not take loss, did not lose in any round yesterday. And here he is, 8-0. Word that I heard is that he just didn't practice, didn't feel comfortable coming into this tournament, but here he is now, undefeated, running a team that, he is actually known for, well, not known for running, but he's used a team similar, using some of the Pokemon in this core, that Mimikyu and that Snorlax that he runs. He's been able to pilot those types of teams to strong finishes in the past.
Yeah, so Alex Gomez is just really sort of the person you want to beat, I think, at this point, if you want to make it into the finals of this tournament. Like you said, that undefeated Swiss record, that terrifying Snorlax and Mimikyu combination, and plus some amazing finishes, throughout the years as well to back up just his skill, that winning the UK National Championships in 2016, being a finalist at the European International Championships, winning the Lion Regionals in 2015, and most, I think, impressive, getting top 8 at the World Championships all the way back in 2014. 2014 had a similar format to 2018. There were a few things that were a little bit different. It was the first year that we had Mega Pokemon, so clearly I think he's very comfortable using these Pokemon. Milotic, Landorus, Therian, Charizard, all big Pokemon from that year. And just, I think that he has his confidence in this team. Carson is going to need a very strong game plan in order to be able to take down this team not only once, but twice, and then make it into finals.
And we already know from an interview with Eric in the past that this team has so many more tricks up its sleeve that we just don't know about yet.
I can't wait to see those,
I know.
Honestly.
Is Alex even going to have to pull them out in order to
I don't know.
Beat Carson in the case that he does win?
I mean,
Alex also was able to watch the matches yesterday, knows what Carson's running, knows what worked for Eric, knows what may not work for Eric. Alex is one of the smartest players in the world. All these players in the top 8 can be considered the smartest players in the world. So
It's
wow.
really interesting that you bring up, the fact that Eric did mention having all these team secrets, because you have to think, if I'm in Alex's shoes, I know that I'm essentially facing my team the next round, and I know that my opponent will know everything I have. So if I have a secret up my sleeve that makes this match that much easier, maybe I should just play it now, because I know that my top 4 match is going to be very difficult. It's going to be a mirror match against one of my, probably one of my best friends. Obviously, they're running the same team, so they have to be pretty darn close. They will know all my secrets too. So, now is the time, if I can, to save some of that mental stamina so that I can, go full speed ahead into top 4.
And here we go into team preview between these two players. We've already seen these two teams on stream. We've already seen these two teams go up against each other. How has Carson made the adjustments coming into this? How has Alex looked at the matches between Carson and Eric, and what is Alex going to do? Obviously, one thing that Carson has to do is break that Mimikyu Snorlax lead.
He has to break that Mimikyu's disguise, and as a result, break that lead. There's a dual meaning to break there. I liked that. But looking at his team, I think yesterday he approached this with, that Caesar, it has Bug Bite, it can use Swords Dance. Maybe he knows his calculations that Bug Bite with Swords Dance is enough to deal significant damage to that Snorlax, and get rid of its berry to boot. But unfortunately for him, the combination of those two Pokemon together means he had to pick. He was always in a situation where he had to pick. Am I more afraid of the Trick Room? Am I more afraid of the Belly Drum? And unfortunately for him, Eric was just very good at making his plays in a way that it didn't really matter which one Carson picked, as he was more afraid of. It just happened so that it worked out for Eric in the end. And I think Alex should try and have that same kind of duality to his play going into this match now. Really, I think Mimikyu Snorlax would be a great lead for Alex because, one, it's so strong. 2, it's, crazy and it forces Carson to prioritize something. And 3, it might even be able to get into Carson's head a little bit. And that, I think, is going to be the most important thing to keep an eye on, because you have to remember that was a pretty devastating win. Devastating loss for Carson, but a fairly confident win for Eric the other day. Staring down these same two Pokemon again going into top 8 is challenging.
Here we go. First game between these two players. It's going to be Ludicolo and Bisharp leads for Carson. Changing it up from yesterday, Bisharp's going to be the Steel type instead of the Scizor coming out. Snorlax and Mimikyu are the leads of choice for Alex Gomez. That lead that Carson just could not break yesterday. That just creates so much pressure. The Snorlax can easily just set up here with all the support options from that Mimikyu.
Yeah, I mean, Carson does have Ludicolo's Fake Out available to him,
straight
but
up.
No Fake Out now.
Yep, here comes the Never-Ending Nightmare, or just even the Z Destiny Bond, just to get that Follow Me effect, redirecting all single target type attacks here. Z Destiny Bond does come out, and it is going to go ahead and draw away single target type attacks and also try to drag down its opponent with it. Ludicolo using Ice Beam, going to bust the disguise on that Mimikyu, opening up the option for Bisharp to go for an Iron Head to get the KO on that Mimikyu, or just knock it off, or just get some damage there. Bisharp is going to go for the Iron Head, going to get the KO on that Mimikyu and drag it down, but this Snorlax is going to be freely able to set up a Belly Drum.
It will get a Belly Drum up, but Trick Room is no longer an option. So Carson, I think we saw him yesterday rely on the fact that Ludicolo's Hydro Vortex in the rain did about 75-ish% damage to that Snorlax. I think what he's going to try and do now is send in that Politoed, get the rain up, deal 1 turn of chip damage to that Snorlax, maybe try and do some switching to protect that Ludicolo, or otherwise have that Politoed try to rely on Scald or something to deal the remaining amount of damage and just knock it out in 1 hit, at which point the combination of the rain and whatever third Pokemon he has in the back should hopefully be enough to stop whatever 2 Pokemon Alex has remaining. That being said, Carson, I think, was very clear yesterday when facing Eric that was sort of the move he was relying on to knock out that Snorlax. So Alex must know it's coming. So if he has some way to weaken the Hydro Vortex, if he has some way to knock out this Ludicolo before the Hydro Vortex activates, unless Carson sends in the Politoed right now, these Pokemon are going to be faster than that Ludicolo. So it looks like the Politoed will take the field, so it's all going to come down to what moves Carson selects.
Charizard is hitting the field for Alex here, going to replace the Fallen Mimikyu. It is the Charizard X variant, so it is not going to be able to change the weather is Politoed going to have a move that it can actually use to stop Snorlax? You know, Politoed does have access to Encore here, which might be what Carson goes for if Politoed has been taught Encore. That's a very great move to kind of lock Snorlax into that belly drum, but, you know, maybe Alex knows that it does have the opportunity to go for an Encore, so maybe Alex won't give up that Snorlax that easily.
It's hard to say. I mean, we never saw Carson go for the Encore the other day, and you have to ask yourself why. Was he doing it because he thought he'd find himself in top cut and that he'd want to keep it maybe a secret until now? Or does his Politoed simply not know it?
Charizard X Mega Evolving, gonna, again, already know that it's the Mega Charizard X form. Charizard gonna protect itself, not gonna want to take a possible Hydro Vortex from that Ludicolo, as Snorlax is also gonna opt for Protect as well, not gonna want to take a Hydro Vortex either. It is gonna be Ludicolo using the Hydro Vortex into 2 Protects, so Alex really predicting that Hydro Vortex from coming out and trying to mitigate the amount of damage that can be dealt by that Ludicolo. Look at that fierce Ludicolo just getting all that power from that Watiri MZ for this Hydro Vortex.
He's very angry, and I think that this this Sea Crystal allows him to, you know, channel his anger into this giant water tornado. It's really interesting to me, though, that he decided to target the Charizard X here. Makes me wonder, is there something in the back that
There's the Encore.
All right, so clearly he was counting on the fact that he could lock this Snorlax into the belly drum, or I guess now even the Protect, to give him enough turns to deal enough damage to knock that Snorlax out. It has already consumed its berry, and if that Encore can connect with it before it can move again, that probably means that, you know, he's not going to be able to get that berry back for the remainder of the game. And that would be good for Carson. That would allow that Snorlax to just not deal damage and not heal, and just let him deal with it a little bit slower than otherwise he has to.
Snorlax just cannot stay in, otherwise it's going to be locked into Protect, and, you know, Snorlax with the belly drum is nice, but at the same time, you're just going to be wasting 3 turns forced to Protect, so that Encore is a great move for Carson to reveal right there, really just flexing over that Snorlax, saying, listen, you know, you have that belly drum up, but you can't stay out here. Snorlax is forced to switch right there after already consuming its berry. Landorus Therian is going to take the field. That is dangerous right there, though, because it could easily take a Water-type move from either of these Pokemon over here. The Intimidate's not going to matter at all against these 2 special attacking Pokemon, as Ludicolo uses Hydro Pump.
Oh, and it connects, too.
Connects with that Charizard, does big damage in the rain, and gets the KO on that Charizard X, so Carson, things are looking up right now as Politoed goes for an Encore into that Landorus Therian, but it is going to fail, so you know, you can't just go for the Water-type attack just yet. You really need to just make sure that that Snorlax can't come out and just do big damage.
Yes, and that, I don't know if you saw, but Carson actually, you know, let out a sigh of relief that that Hydro Pump connected and was enough to knock out that Charizard X, thanks to, you know, the fact that, 1, it's such a powerful move, and 2, there's that rain up on the field as well. You know, Alex is in a really tough spot here. He can try to go for another belly drum since Snorlax is at full health, but it is not holding that berry anymore and could still easily get locked into it via Encore on that Politoed. So Carson, I think this is the positioning he's wanted ever since yesterday. You know, he wants Ludicolo and Politoed on the field together. He wants to be able to threaten the Pokemon on Alex's side of the field, both in terms of, you know, what they can do in terms of damage and in terms of just disrupting his strategy.
Oh, a big one-hit KO from that Ice Beam onto that Ludicolo. That Rain and the Swift Swim just go together so well. Politoed using Scald here. Gonna hit in that Snorlax, doing 30%, but Snorlax can't really use any turns to set up because the Politoed has already showed its hand. It has revealed Encore. A critical hit on that return, almost gets the KO on that Ludicolo, but Ludicolo hangs on, is still around. So again, this Snorlax is in bad position, cannot set up, has to be able to remove that Politoed, and that's something that Alex is gonna have to remember for the future games.
Definitely. I think the best thing Alex can do right now is try and knock out that Ludicolo so Carson is forced to reveal whatever Pokemon he has in the back. So then Alex can piece together the remaining of Carson's strategy. You know, given how he approached the games yesterday against Eric, it's most likely we're going to see him lead the same Pokemon. We're going to see him, you know, play out the same kind of game. And the more information that Alex can get at this point, the better, because then he can adjust. He can, you know, be a little bit creative about his strategy moving forward. Maybe not lead the Mimikyu Snorlax. Maybe try and stagger it in some way, shape, or form so that he can potentially catch Carson off guard.
I think one thing also is that you can't just sacrifice that Mimikyu right away. Yes, you did get the KO on that Bisharp and took it down with you, but at the same time, that Z-Decimon is so nice right now to be able to draw away those Encores. Ludicolo using this turn to reveal Energy Ball in that Snorlax Protect as Politoed uses Scald here. Again, Snorlax just protecting. We've already seen that it has access to Protect, so this Snorlax, its moveset's pretty much can be determined, you know, recycle to get that berry back, belly drum to maximize that attack stat, protect, and return.
Yeah, and it's a pretty strong moveset, I think, for a Snorlax. You have to wonder, yes, it only has normal type moves, which means if the Snorlax were staring down a Gengar or another ghost type Pokemon, it won't be able to deal damage. But the rest of his team has such beautiful typing coverage. I don't think that's a big deal. I think the Snorlax it likes situations like this where, it can attack all the Pokemon on the opposing side of the field. And if my opponent has a strategy that relies on something Snorlax can't handle, I have a strong team backing it up. I might not even need Snorlax for that matchup.
Yep, and after this turn, rain is going to end, so the damage output from the Ludicolo and the Politoed will be reduced because it won't be boosted by the rain. Might make it a little bit more manageable. Snorlax goes for a double protect, but cannot get it. Ludicolo just goes for straight damage, not going to risk a Hydro Pump miss, going to go for an Energy Ball. As Politoed goes for Encore, going to lock Snorlax now into Protect, not going to allow it to recycle for 3 turns, not going to allow it to go for a Belly Drum either. So Carson just trying to create positions right now so that he can secure his victory.
More importantly, by encoring that Snorlax into Protect, it means he might not have to reveal the last Pokemon he brought. He has 3 turns to try and knock out this Snorlax right now. Energy Ball, Scald, Energy Ball, Scald, Energy Ball, Scald might be enough. I mean, if each one of those does like 10% minimum, that should be enough to knock out that Snorlax, if my eyeball math is correct.
Pretty much right now, this Snorlax cannot go for any other moves besides Protect. So Alex is going to... If Alex wants Snorlax to go on the offensive and it can survive that many attacks, it has to actually stall out the amount of Protect power points. So,
that's true.
Yep, you're right. Carson has put himself in a position where he doesn't have to reveal that 4th Pokemon, which is going to be very important because Alex now won't know what kind of adjustments need to be made because we don't even know what the last Pokemon is.
Yeah, it is important to note, though, that because Protect failed last turn, it will succeed this turn. It'll fail next turn unless Alex gets lucky, and then it'll succeed the turn after that. So at best, Carson will get, 1 attack out of this. But it looks like, hey, surprise, I didn't even notice this. The your time on Alex Gomez's side actually just hit 0, so Carson won.
Yep, so that is another way to win.
Surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes to
I just
show
lost.
you.
I just stopped paying attention to that. Your time right there.
I know, right? I mean, and that was beautiful how, it's possible that Carson was just trying to stall it out as well, seeing that. I mean, personally, it's so hard to notice because, at one point in time, it would actually turn red so that it signify, hey, it's getting lower.
But now it's always red.
But now it's always red. So I think a lot of people just mentally tune it out. And it's just something, again, you have to manage on the field. And I think Carson is really good at juggling those kind of variables. So, just really locking in his win condition there, locking in the move with the Encore, locking in the timer. And now Alex I think he really has to think how he wants to approach this game. Maybe Mimikyu Snorlax isn't the best approach. Maybe it's time to, save that Mimikyu in the back or otherwise.
Alex is already locked in.
I don't know. We'll see.
I
he has
definitely,
a plan.
I think Mimikyu Snorlax is still going to be a key component to Alex's victory. However, it's going to come down to making sure that Politoed cannot be on the field to encore Snorlax, allowing Snorlax a clear path to set up and sweep at that point. So Alex is going to have to play that Mimikyu a lot differently.
He is going to have to play that a lot differently. And, I think that he saw that probably during that game. And you have to wonder, I mean, his time was so low. If he saw that, he must have been thinking about how he was going to approach game 2. So he locked in his Pokemon so quickly. He probably has a game plan moving forwards. Maybe we'll see that Mimikyu try and, do something else other than the Z Destiny Bond. I'd really love to see it go for like a Trick Room right now, honestly.
And here we go. Carson Confer versus Alex Gomez. Carson Confer 1 win away from moving on to the top 4. Alex Gomez here trying to force that game 3. Going to lead with Snorlax and Mimikyu again. Alex thinks that this is the key to victory. Carson leading the exact same thing as well with that Ludicolo and Bisharp. It's going to come down to whether or not Alex can change it up this time in terms of how he plays. But here it comes. It's going to be a Z move coming from that Mimikyu again. But is it going to be a Z Destiny Bond or is it going to be the Never Ending Nightmare? Probably the Z Destiny Bond still.
I would assume it's the Destiny Bond. But no. Oh, yep. Just kidding.
Z Destiny Bond right there. Going to, again, get that Follow Me effect. Going to redirect all single target attacks. As Ludicolo going to go for an Ice Beam. It is going to bust that Disguise. Is it just going to go ahead and... Oh, actually gets a freeze, but again, this could easily just be a KO if that Bisharp goes for an Iron Head.
I mean, Destiny Bond will work regardless if that Pokemon is frozen or not. So
yeah.
It looks like Iron Head will be connecting with that Mimikyu and knocking it out. So again, Mimikyu being traded for that Bisharp knockout, and Snorlax free to do whatever it wants right now.
Yep, Snorlax should be able to easily get a... belly drum up if Alex thinks that that is the best course of action. Snorlax actually just going to go straight for the return. Going to try to get some damage out on that Ludicolo, doing over 50%, so another return will be able to get the KO.
And that's even before the belly drum, so that's a really good adjustment because now the Snorlax, you know, it still has its berry. Yes, it's not as powerful as it could be, but maybe it doesn't have to be. Once this Ludicolo is off the field, the Z-move option on Carson's team is gone, and electric-type Pokemon like Tapu Koko can more than easily handle, you know, the water-type Pokemon Politoed, and I think this is a great adjustment from him. You know, he doesn't need the extra damage that belly drum provides here to win this because Snorlax is so powerful already on its own.
Yeah, and from what we saw yesterday versus Eric Rios, that Ludicolo Hydro Vortex cannot actually KO a Snorlax from full health. So, you know, Tapu Koko is in a precarious position. If you think about it, the Ludicolo can still just send Tapu Koko into a Hydro Vortex and easily get the KO because of the Swift Swim ability. So, Tapu Koko is actually going to have to protect itself here. But no protect at all. It's just going to be Ludicolo going for a Hydro Vortex here. Gonna try to put something away.
Yeah, and if it does target down that Tapu Koko, now that I think about it, I mean, yes, he's trading the weakened Ludicolo for the Snorlax, but this will give Politoed a chance to encore that Snorlax into return, meaning that it is stuck attacking for the rest of this game. So at least the belly drum is no longer available to that Snorlax for a few turns, if that's what Carson decided to do.
No protect there from that Tapu Koko. It gets KO'd.
No,
Politoed going for a Scald here, gonna try to get a burn on that Snorlax. Gets a big burn right there. Gonna have the amount of physical damage that Snorlax can do. This actually might allow Ludicolo to hang on just with one hit point.
Wow, that was a big burn, just like this is a big battle. You know, that one hit point is going to make all the difference for this Ludicolo. It is so fast. It's going to be able to target down that Charizard with a potential Hydro Pump this turn, which we saw do so much damage. And, you know, in regards to the Snorlax, it's burned now, which means that Alex kind of has to use Belly Drum if he wants to try and, you know, get the Snorlax's damage output to be something normal, honestly. I don't know if he can afford to do so right now. He might just have to hope that chip damage is going to be enough and that Hydro Pump won't connect with that Charizard. But that was just a great play by Carson there. It was a risky play. You know, I think going for the Encore into return probably would have been a little bit safer. But, you know, taking the risk for the burn allowed his Ludicolo to hang around. And that's really going to be key for the rest of this game.
And there's still one more Pokemon in the back for Carson that we haven't seen yet. Not just in this game and the previous game. So it could still be something that Carson's willing to have come out at the end and just try to seal the deal here. It is going to be Tapu Koko already benefiting from the electric terrain here. Mega Charizard X is going to take the field again. Alex's team opting for the Mega Charizard X. This is actually a team very reminiscent of a team that won the Charlotte Regional Championships run by former world champion Wolf Lick with the Charizard X, Landorus and Milotic. Politoed using Scald into that Charizard Protect, not going to take any damage at all. Snorlax using Return, going to go ahead and try to target down the heavily damaged Ludicolo, trying to get the KO there, but the Tapu Koko comes in and takes that easily.
That Protect from that Charizard, I think, was a little bit too safe of a play for Alex, and I think he's kind of going to get punished for it because if he were to have targeted down that Politoed with the Thunder Punch we saw in this Charizard X the other day, with the electric terrain up, that is a knockout, and that would have brought it down to a 1 HP Ludicolo with, you know, only a few turns of rain left that he could stall out with the burn Snorlax. It still would have been an uphill battle for him, but I think it still would be possible. Now he has to worry about the possibility of this Tapu Koko, you know, dealing a lot of damage to that Charizard or somehow stopping it from using that Thunder Punch. You know, I don't think it's going to be able to knock it out. The more I think about it, the more I think this Charizard's going to get at least one more attack. But still, you know, not a really good spot for Alex to be in.
Tapu Koko using Thunder in that rain. 100% accurate, doing so much damage to that Charizard. 50% despite not being very effective as Charizard X over on Alex's side uses Thunder Punch, boosted by that electric chain as well. Politoed hangs on with just 5 hit points. And it's going to go ahead and activate that eject button. So now this Ludicolo is going to come right back in. Could possibly get KO'd if Snorlax decided to target down with a return. So Ludicolo comes in with just 1 hit point left after surviving from that burned return. The return here from Snorlax is going to go ahead and hit in that Tapu Koko slot, bringing it down to about 47 hit points left, I believe. And now Snorlax takes some chip damage from burn, but again, still not KO'd yet, or still not activating that berry.
No, so as soon as Snorlax takes a little bit more chip damage, unless Carson thinks that his Tapu Koko's Thunder or the Hydro Pump with the support of the rain is going to be enough to knock out that Snorlax, it'll get its health practically back up to full. There are 2 more turns of rain, so this means that Alex is going to be forced to be a little bit creative about how he stalls out the remainder of this game. You know, he could try to go for a couple of double protects. He could try and just hope that, you know, otherwise Thunder would work well. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting turn to see play out.
Charizard protects itself here. Not going to want to take a possible fake out from that Ludicolo. As Ludicolo goes for a fake out, going to go ahead and make the Snorlax flinch. Not going to activate the berry just yet, but the burn damage might actually, and it is.
It got it.
So Snorlax is going to be able to heal right back up to full health because that fake out just put it in range for that burn. Tapu Koko going for the Thunder into the Charizard, trying to get that KO right there, but it can easily get the KO here.
Yes, it can. So Charizard has a chance of getting the double protect. I think that Alex has to take that chance and just really hope for the best here. Carson, if he wanted to try and make a big play, he could try and go for the Hydro Pump and the Thunder and just hope that maybe the Snorlax gets greedy and doesn't protect here. But
Charizard goes for protect. It fails though. Ludicolo using Hydro Pump. It is going to connect onto that Snorlax, doing good damage, 40% right there. As Tapu Koko uses Thunder, that is going to be damaging to either Pokemon. That is going to hit the Charizard. Is enough to get the KO. It is. And now it's going to be Snorlax that's burned versus 3 Pokemon left on Carson's side. Tapu Koko again taking more life or recoil as Snorlax using Return.
That might be enough to knock it out.
That is enough to get the KO, but I believe Carson has actually timed it perfectly to the point where, yes, Politoed's going to come right back in, and now it's going to be 5 more turns of the rain.
Hydro Pump is inaccurate, though. Remember, it only has about a 70% chance of connecting with its opponent. So even though the rain is up, and even though that Hydro Pump will be boosted by the rain, that doesn't guarantee that it's going to connect. So Carson has to really think, does he value big damage or does he value, accuracy? I think that if he's unable to attack this turn, if his attack does not connect, that Snorlax can recycle and easily deal the amount of damage.
Oh, Ludicolo connects with that Hydro Pump. Hits in that Snorlax slot. Politoed is going to be able to go for the Scald. It does, and that does it. Carson Confer moves on to the top 4, defeating Alex Gomez in a thrilling 2-game set.
He knew that he had to take the risk, and he took it, and it worked out. Wow, that's incredible because he lost twice to that team yesterday, and he just came back and did an incredible job playing it today.
Yeah, and we saw exactly how much pressure that Politoed exerted. Doesn't have that much offensive pressure, but the fact that it had Encore really kind of just put a wrench in Alex's plan, I have this Snorlax set up, game 1, belly drummed up, it's healed back to full health, but I'm locked. I'm either going to stay out, get locked into Protect, or get locked into Belly Drum, so I have to switch out that Snorlax.
Yes, and that's why you choose a Pokemon like Politoed with the Drizzle ability over a Pokemon like Pelipper with the Drizzle ability. Pelipper, it has, I think, a different playstyle associated with it. You like to rely on Tailwind and Hurricane, and, you want Pelipper to get off the field as soon as possible, whereas with a Pokemon like Politoed, you want the eject button hold item so it's easier to cycle it in and out to keep the rain up. And then you want these supporting moves on the Politoed like Encore, like Perish Song, so that you can sort of punish your opponent for just leaving it around on the field. I mean, even Scald, with the help of the rain, does a nice amount of chip damage. You can't ignore that because, as we saw on the Snorlax in Game 1, it adds up.
Yeah, and of course the burn as well.
The chance to burn is huge. I mean, there are so many crazy physical attackers in this format right now, so being able to have a chance of weakening that attack power, even though it's not guaranteed, it's just another added benefit. And as numbers and probability works, the more time you try and get that Scald burn, the more likely you are to get it ish. I mean, there's some math involved. I don't want to bore everybody to sleep because that was a pretty hype match. It would be kind of a weird transition.
Yeah, that burn on that Snorlax pretty much meant that Snorlax wasn't going to be able to do enough damage at all, having that physical damage output, allowing that Ludicolo to hang on with just 1 hit point. I mean,
that was so close, though. You have to wonder, was that a low damage roll? Or was that just, pure luck on that Ludicolo's part? That was just so intense.
Carson survived that game with 6 hit points.
I know. and that just goes to show you how close that was. I mean, when you're looking at 6 hit points, that could be the difference of a low damage roll or a high damage roll somewhere. It just goes to show you how good this team that Alex and Eric built. And now Carson gets to play it again.
Yep, it's not over yet.
Yeah, knowing that Eric was probably, out in the audience watching this match play out, he's going to, we do have a little bit of a break between top 8 and top 4. He has a chance to maybe talk to Alex about what just happened. And, figure out how to go at this again.
He's played this team 3 rounds in a row.
And that is insane. I mean, I can't emphasize this enough. I mean, especially with how scary of a team it is. Like, having to face it once I feel like would be enough. But then having to face it twice and now a 3rd time to make it into finals.
Especially after the first round where you ended up losing to it 2-0.
I know.
Bringing it back, winning it 2-0, and now you have to face it one more time with the player that actually defeated you yesterday in the last round of Swiss. So
you have to wonder, like, maybe he kept Encore hidden yesterday because he wanted to keep it a surprise for today? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not
should
sure if
talk
you'd
to
ever
him.
want to risk it with that opponent's win percentage as a
know.
tiebreaker, though. So
I don't know.
only one person knows.
We should go find out. We should go talk to Carson. So we're going to take a quick break and get that interview set up for you. We'll be back soon. Hello and welcome back to the 2018. Oh, hello everybody and welcome back to the 2018 Pokemon International Championships here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I'm joined here by Carson Confer, who just, had an amazing win in top 8, going into top 4. Congratulations. How are you feeling right now?
I'm pretty excited that I won because that was a really hard matchup, and get that game too, I definitely didn't think I was going to win.
I mean, everybody watching at home, we saw you play that team yesterday in the last round of Swiss, and we saw you playing it again. Were you nervous about that at all?
Yeah, I know Eric and Alex are really good friends and that they'd be like well-versed in how to play my team, and so I was kind of scared because like game 3, I think yesterday, I got wrecked.
Yeah, it was kind of a harsh battle to watch, but, it must have felt pretty good, winning game 1 and then winning game 2 as well, thanks to that Scald burn. That was pretty clutch.
Yeah, I knew that in that scenario, that was like my only way to win, so I just went for it.
All right, so I know you don't want to talk too much about those games because you are kind of sort of facing the same team again in top 4 in a bit. So if you don't mind me asking, what was your inspiration for building that Rain team, before you even came to this tournament?
A user named Stratos Online gave me a version of the team that I used to top the online ladder, and so I just kind of messed with it until I got it to like the kinds of matchups that I wanted against other teams.
Any reason why you picked Mega Caesar? I know that's not one of the common Mega Pokemon right now.
I just liked it for its matchup against Metagross, really.
Cool. Well, is there any other MVPs, most valuable Pokemon on your team that have really come through for you this weekend?
I had a Bisharp like 2 days before the tournament, and it's actually been working out really well.
Nice. Well, best of luck going into your top 4 match. Real quick, do you have any tips for anybody at home who's, watching you play here today and wants to maybe get in on this play Pokemon action?
Yeah, I think practicing online is like the best thing to make you a better player than just going to tournaments, because that's the only way you're going to get better.
All right, well, you do have some time for everybody watching at home. We're going to go into a bit of a lunch break here in Sao Paulo, so maybe it's time to go on to Pokemon-GL.com, check out those QR code teams, check out the Battle Spot ladder, and we'll be back after our lunch break with the top 4 here at the Pokemon Latin America International Championships. Please stay tuned, and thank you for watching, everybody.
Changed my life far more than I ever thought it would. It's in a weird way almost kind of become part of my identity. Outside of my wife, it probably is the biggest part of my life right now.
I always kind of look at or think about what my life would be like without it, and it's hard to even think about that or imagine that just because it's so important to everything.
Like a couple of years ago, I couldn't have sat talking to you like this, like I am today. It's helped me find my confidence, and it's helped me, become more comfortable in myself.
After all these years, it's still going strong and arguably going even stronger than when we were first getting back into it. Pokemon just is my life. I'm Josh Wittenkeller. Some of you guys might know me as Jay Witts, and I'm a Pokemon trading card game caster. I played pretty much straight from day one. The first day that people had cards at school, I immediately went home, talked to my dad. I was like, hey, this looks really cool. Let's play it. We played all the time. We went to leagues. We built decks, and I just fell in love with it immediately. On the Nintendo 64, Pokemon Stadium came out. We got it. It was the first game I ever pre-ordered, and I had it at my house, and I told all my friends. And I had like 10 people over at my house that day. And it was then that I realized just how many people Pokemon can bring together, how much fun you can have with it. It's just really stuck with me ever since.
I'm Kay Dyson. I'm a commentator for the video game and from Pokemon Tournament. I used to just play Yellow, play Pokemon Silver with my friends, and I sort of kept playing. Misty was my hero. I loved that she didn't take any nonsense from the boys. She cared about her family. She loved her Pokemon. Yeah, she was cool. I liked Misty. I got into playing like the competitive stuff, and when I got to university, me and my friends realised, hey, there's this giant Pokemon tournament in Birmingham. It's called a National. Should we go play? Yes. That was 2011. That was my first competitive tournament. That was my first Nationals.
I'm Ross Gilbert and I'm a Pokemon trading card game caster. Well, I started playing as a very small child when the game very first came out. It was a very casual thing with my friends, and we bought the trading cards and we battled with them, and we would just go for the biggest, strongest Pokemon we could. So when I got a little bit older, I was in my 20s, and I did find out that Pokemon was still around and there was competitive play. So I went to my very first tournament, and my theory was that I had some alright Pokemon cards, and I won my very first game, felt really good about myself, and didn't win another game for 3 more tournaments, because it turns out there were strategies and decks, and I had a lot to learn.
I'm Aaron Zhang, and I'm a Pokemon video game caster. Growing up, Pokemon was always a really big part of my life. I got into the game earlier on, I think in 3rd or 4th grade, when everyone in the classroom had like a copy of Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and I was like, oh, I want to see what this is all about. I think Pokemon has definitely had the biggest influence in my life out of anything, really. My brother's 5 years younger than me, and growing up, you know, it's kind of difficult to have similar hobbies when you have such a big age gap. I remember introducing it to him, and that's like the one hobby that we really share together, and even because of Pokemon, we really were able to share this really special bond.
Being a caster for Pokemon is kind of our dream.
It's super cool.
Being a caster for Pokemon is literally a dream come true.
Oh, hey, how's it going, Ross?
Oh, it's going superbly, sir. When I started doing my casting, when I started doing my commentary really at the grassroots level, this was all I wanted to do.
I'm sort of living my life's dream. I get to share my favorite moments about Pokemon. I get to meet people from all over the world. It's incredibly humbling. It's incredibly fun.
It's a really valuable resource to be able to educate people about the game that we really care and love so much about.
Firstly, you know that you're helping other people around the world see the tournament that's going on. You can help explain them, see this is why we love it so much. Getting the message out there saying, this is Pokemon, this is what we love doing, and like, come and play with us.
I get far more joy from watching 2 good players play and taking apart their play and seeing what they're doing and explaining it to people than I do from actually playing itself, because I can parlay it into YouTube, into my podcast, and it's something with which I can consume myself all the time.
We, a long time ago, always wanted to spread the Pokemon trading card game specifically. We felt like it was a super underrated aspect of the Pokemon franchise. We felt like there's a ton of strategy, a ton of stories to share, and we always wanted to share them. But now that there's Twitch, and now that people can see it from all over the world, it's been great. It gets bigger and crazier every year, and we're telling the stories that we wanted to all along.
I think storytelling is really important for anything that's competitive. As a caster, you know, I tried to provide 2 things. 1, a good story behind all the matches that we cast, and 2, being able to really break down each game and kind of bring it to the next level and allowing players to see why, you know, some plays are made or why high-level play is so cool.
I want to tell the stories. I want people to see these players, to see these matches, to see both the incredible triumphs and maybe the what-if misplays. I want people to watch a Pokemon match and remember it.
It's just a great opportunity to reach out to the Pokemon community in a different way. I think, you know, as casters, it's really cool being able to walk out after games and having people tell you like, hey, I really enjoyed that game you casted, or you did a good job. Being able to do something that I really love, it's just a really cool opportunity.
The best part about Pokemon is just that it's everywhere. It doesn't matter your age, your upbringing, who you are. Anybody can enjoy Pokemon in a million different ways, and the community is super welcoming.
I love the community aspect of it. I love knowing that there are people all around the world from completely different walks of life, like of all ages, all genders, all orientations, and everyone just meets up at these events.
The big thing I'll say about Pokemon is it really just opened my world up. When you start playing the game, you realize eventually, if I want to go to the big events, I'm going to have to travel outside of my local sphere. And doing that just helped me meet so many different kinds of people.
I've met people from all over the world, all over Europe, the US, and further afield, and I found nothing but lovely, caring, supportive, wonderful people. Because I think it's the game that leads to these experiences. Everybody not only wants to play the game, but they want to help other people play the game. So everyone that's playing has had that same supportive experience where they started playing the game and everyone in their local community couldn't help more.
I was staff at the World Championships, and at the end of the closing ceremony, they lined all of the staff up outside the ceremony hall. And as everyone came out of the ceremony, we applauded, and just you could see every kid's face light up as they came out and had this crowd of people standing there applauding them. We were clapping for them. They'd give us high fives. We'd cheer. Some people ran down the whole line of us, giving us all high fives. You could tell every kid that came out of that hall, they felt like a champion. And that was just the most wonderful feeling, to know that we'd been part of that, to help make that happen. That was the best day.
It's just a fantastic way to make friends, lifelong friends that you'll know forever. It's really a community unlike any other in the gaming sphere that I've worked with.
The people I've met and the friends I've made have greatly influenced me. I think one of the best things about being in Pokemon is meeting people from all around the world and hearing about their experiences and sharing this one thing that you really love together. I think that definitely has had a huge impact on me, teaching me about different cultures and experiences and being able to make friends from all around the world. That is really awesome.
Pokemon is for everyone, and I think it's becoming more and more obvious that that's the case, which is really wonderful to see.
Follow your dreams. Don't give up. Just because someone says you can't do something doesn't mean that that's true.
If you want to be a competitive player, you want to win tournaments, you want to travel around the world proving that you are the very best, it's a great game to get into. If you just want to play, you want to meet up with your friends, it's all wonderful fun. And yeah, there's something in it for everyone.
Of the dozens of different communities I've involved myself with in my lifetime, I've never found that level of love and support that just permeates every level of Pokemon organized play.
At the end of the day, Pokemon's awesome because it just brings people together. It's honestly impacted me in such a big way, and I think anyone else you talk to in the competitive scene can tell you just how important Pokemon is to them. And so it's more than just a game, it's more than a franchise. For a lot of us, it's really one of the most influential parts of our lives. So I encourage people who might be even remotely interested in being a competitor, being a caster, being a casual viewer to just keep sticking along with it and supporting it, because the franchise still has a lot of juice in it, and I think there are a lot of great things to come in the future.